Welcome to a new episode of Real Life Stories. Today, we are diving into a story that touches on love, self-worth, and the roller coaster of emotions that come with relationships. In today's story, we will follow the narrator who found their world changed by Sarah, their first love. This story isn't just about romance, it's about discovering oneself amidst the highs and lows of a relationship. We'll explore the beautiful moments they shared, the doubts that crept in, and the powerful lesson that love starts with self-acceptance. It's a journey of growth, heartache, and ultimately learning to love oneself before loving another. Join us as we unravel this real-life narrative filled with love, struggles, and the invaluable lessons learned along the way. Let's move on to the story. The first time I met Sarah, I didn't think much of it. We were both in the same English class, and she sat 2 rows ahead of me, always engrossed in some book. Her dark hair cascaded over her shoulders, and her laughter echoed through the halls. She seemed like one of those people who effortlessly glided through life, the polar opposite of my awkward, stumbling self. I never imagined she'd notice someone like me. But fate has a funny way of weaving its threads, and one day, as I nervously mumbled through a presentation, she caught my eye and smiled. That moment changed everything. We started talking after that, first about class, then books, and eventually about anything and everything under the sun. Sarah had this way of making even the mundane seem extraordinary. Her passion for literature was infectious, and I found myself getting lost in discussions about characters and plot twists I hadn't even known existed. Before I knew it, we were spending most of our free time together, exploring the city, sharing our dreams, and baring our souls. She made me feel seen in a way no one ever had. With her, I felt like I could conquer the world, like all my insecurities and fears faded into insignificance. But as beautiful as those moments were, they were also fleeting. Beneath the surface, a storm brewed within me. I struggled with a gnawing sense of self-doubt. I believed that I wasn't good enough for someone like Sarah. She was vibrant, intelligent, and radiated confidence, while I felt like a mere shadow in her presence. I began questioning everything, my appearance, my intellect, my worthiness of her affection. It wasn't long before those doubts morphed into a suffocating fear of losing her. I became hyper-aware of every word I said, every action I took, terrified that one misstep would shatter the fragile connection we shared. As much as I tried to hide it, Sarah sensed the change in me. She looked at me, concern etched in her eyes, and asked if something was wrong. I'd brush it off with a forced smile, trying to convince her and myself that everything was fine. But the rift between us widened, fueled by my own insecurities. The turning point came on a rainy afternoon in a quiet cafe. We sat across from each other, the silence heavily with unspoken words. Sarah reached out and gently held my hand, her touch warm and comforting. "I feel like there's a wall between us," she said softly, her voice tinged with sadness. I wanted to tear down the wall, to let her into the chaos of my thoughts, but fear gripped me. I was terrified of her seeing the mess I perceived myself to be. Instead, I withdrew further, pushing her away in a futile attempt to protect myself from the inevitable heartache. The days that followed were excruciating. We drifted apart. The chasm widened with each missed call and unanswered message. I watched helplessly as something beautiful slipped through my fingers, unable to break free from the chains of my own insecurities. It took me a while to realize that love doesn't thrive in the shadows of self-doubt. I had to confront my demons, to acknowledge that my worth wasn't defined by my perceived flaws. It wasn't about being perfect for someone else. It was about accepting myself, flaws and all, and understanding that I was worthy of love, just as I was. Years have passed since then. Sarah is now a distant memory, a bittersweet reminder of lessons learned. I have stumbled, fallen, and picked myself up countless times, but through it all, I've come to embrace my imperfections as part of who I am. Love isn't about finding someone to fill the void within us. It's about two individuals sharing their completenesses. I have learned that true self-worth doesn't come from someone else's validation, but from within. And while Sarah might have been my first brush with love, she taught me a valuable lesson: to love myself before I can truly love another. As I look back on that chapter of my life, I no longer feel regret or longing. Instead, I carry gratitude for the moments shared and the lessons learned. And as I navigate the complexities of love and self-worth, I know that my story with Sarah was just a stepping stone in the journey towards understanding myself. As we conclude this captivating journey through our story, it's essential to reflect on the profound lessons learned from this heartfelt narrative. This story wasn't just about a relationship. It was a poignant exploration of a personal growth and the realization that self-worth is the cornerstone of any meaningful connection. The protagonist's journey illuminated the delicate balance between love for another and love for oneself. Through the highs of shared laughter and passion for literature, to the depths of self-doubt and fear of inadequacy, this story painted a vivid picture of the human experience. It showcased that relationships aren't just about two people coming together, but about the inner battles each individual faces. Thank you for joining us today on this emotional odyssey. Please stay tuned for more captivating stories that unravel the tapestry of human experiences on our channel, Real Life Stories.